If there's one thing I can't abide, it's the lack of sense good parents show when it comes time to choose a fight in school, once their child's come of age at 11. As I see it, not enough attention is paid to a school's choice of weapons, so that parents haven't the least intimation of what's being pressed into their child's hands from day one. A child's got no choice but to learn what's taught, which is a foul deed most rank given how many good soldiers come to maturity without any sense of how to use the best weapons. We have schools in this good age where common sprouts are handed naught but a quarterstaff to play with, while others are given a spear that's to be treated like a bloody heirloom. At the same time, the sword, the best weapon by my book, is too dear to grant our young whelps, so that when they're trotted out on a battlefield, not only do they not know how to use one, they don't know how to protect themselves against it. And crossbows, God help the one who asks to be taught on it. There's always some smackstaff master calling it a towner's crutch, putting a bloody longbow on a pedestal when they do. But it's the gutter born that need 'em, who haven't a Sunday to stand in woods shooting deer. But a crossbow's too complicated for a rural school, too much metal in 'em. Half the time I've seen more metal in a washtub than I've seen in a rural school's armory. Yet where does the burgess send their child to learn on weapons to save coin? A rural school, of course. Send your young'un to London, Manchester or Lincoln, I say. Costs more for the privilege, costs more for the journey alone. But if a soul's got the wherewithal, don't save a coin on this of all things. Unless you'd rather have your offspring's bones bleached in some unknown wood, or piled atop a gravedigger's cart with a nest of others. Skimp the farrier when the mule's lame, and soon enough there's naught to do with it but make meat. But that's just what folk do every season, proud as cockerels, while their whelps go off to learn spear drill from a lobcock that's not fought more than straw these last 30 years. Now, I've heard it said that I'm prejudiced, but I'm a favourer of the sword, always have been, and if I'm to die with something in hand, I'd rather it be a blade than a stick. First off, it's the reach. If a lad can be taught not to windmill with the thing, with it, you got your arm and a length more than enough to keep the enemy at bay. The sword's made to edge in with it, learning the measure of an enemy one blow at a time until cutting past the spear into the foe's heart. Half of any company I've marched with has suffered from knuckle scars, not to mention lost fingers and such. I've two of my own that I lost before learning the value of a sword's crossguard. The cup's even better if the enemy's not armoured and the sword's weight counts for less. Though there are masters what scoff at the cup like it's a chamber pot. I say let them, as long as they don't mind eating their dinner with the wrong hand. Folk don't think of the guard much, not when they're young and full of pluck, no more than they think of their knees or their back. But you lose a finger and the first thing that goes with it is your grip, and there's no fine stance nor clever feint worth a fig if you can't hold the blade straight. The guard's not just an ornament. When the sword's handed to me, it's the next thing I mark well after the balance. Many's a weapon I've been given with a loose guard, fitted like an afterthought. Best change it out when first you may. Mind you, I've no contempt for other weapons. Many's a time I've wanted for a good mace or hammer when I'm in a tight space facing a mob of skeletons, or just one damn slime in a deep pit. A weighty warhammer feels good in one's palm, while the spike's got uses beyond the splitting skulls. Striking well with it between the planks of a dungeon door can break that hindrance faster than an axe, if you know doors. Any soldier that walks into a fight with only one weapon's courting mischief, so I deem it. A spear's a fine thing in a hallway, while a halberd's got a sweep that's good if you're fighting a near invisible adversary in an open field. By St. George and the Devil's Own Shadow, I've seen a man cut 3 foes with a skinning knife and a boot to brace. I'm the first to argue it's not the weapon, it's the place, the time, and the good use it's put to that counts. I'll take a club if that's what's to hand. But a school's got to give the best attention to its young brethren if England's going to prevail through the wars that's taken its young striplings for lack of sound weapon training. I've seen too many lads marched off, given a billhook when they'd be better off with a boarding axe, or sent up a hill with a spear fit for parade, not a hillside skirmish. There's no future in training boys to pose like knights when it's ditches and cellars they'll be bleeding in. I say, let a school be judged not by its banners or bright work, but by the grip its lads keep when cold and hunger have had their turn. There's no steel shine in the muck of Saxony, I promise you. I saw boys from good English houses taken down in a frostbit field outside Oppenheim, still calling for their masters as though discipline alone might turn the pike. Wood weapons won't hold back the Swede that comes on with axes. I've seen him, shirt stiff with frost, no banner, coming on like hell's own fury. And each time, it's not the bow that stops him, but a good solid flank armed with sword, hand axe and shield, turning their line until the spears can sort themselves and stand together. It's a sad thing when, advancing over rough ground, the spear carriers break apart only to be caught unawares. More the pity for us who watch it happen. What's a good school, I hear asked? The Hall of St. Avis is the first that comes to mind. In Lincolnshire, on the road to Skegness by Rugby, though you miss it if you don't know the turn. It's set behind a low stone wall and 3 long ash trees, none of which have leaf proper since the fire at 12. No sign to mark it, no heraldry on the gate, just an iron bell and that kind of quiet that makes your boots sound loud even on grass. You wouldn't know from the look of it that men have bled into the ground there by the dozen in training alone, and that's before you count the ones set off to real wars. They teach the great sword there, not the flourish seen in summer bouts, but the proper length that takes both hands and a good back to swing, and still more to bring it round. Keeping it steady's in the stance, not the shoulders, and if you see soldiers not well trained in it, you'll know how to catch them at the point of off balance with a lesser sword. There's a fella still teaches there, was last I heard, a Master Corbin, though I doubt he ever took kindly to the title. Stiff-legged from a break gone wrong, walks with a tilt like the ground's never quite even, but God's help the lad who mistakes that for weakness. He'll plant himself like a fence post and take your whole advance with a quarter turn of the hip and that low cut he favours, the one that comes up from the ankle and finishes just shy of the collarbone. First time I saw it, I thought he'd missed. Didn't see the cut land until the lad's gambeson parted like split bread. But I've not known many who see a fight the way he does. He watches the body, not the blade, and trains you to strike at what a man thinks he's guarding, not what he shows. Spent years in the Low Countries, they say, though he never talks of it. Just shakes his head when folk get clever with the footwork and reminds them the ground's not there for dancing. But he's not like Master Effingtree at the London school in Hackney, St. Llewellyn's Yard they call it, though there's not wholly about the place save the number of men that have prayed to keep their fingers after trying his disarms. Effingtree is the kind that talks more than he swings, and there's folk who'll tell you he's more scholar than swordsman, but I've seen him work a blade so narrow you'd think it was fit only for kitchen use, and take the breath out of a man in 3 strokes, none wasted. St. Llewellyn's Yard sits tucked behind a tannery wall in Hackney, just where the stink turns to ash and iron. There's no yard to speak of, not anymore. They train in long rooms, low ceilinged and flagged with uneven stone, where the only breeze comes from slats in the shutters and the smell of oil never quite leaves your clothes. But it's London's finest for the short sword, and if you've any sense, you'll bring a second blade and learn that wounds are the coin of war. The work there's all speed and angle, nothing wasted. They don't teach power so much as precision. When to close, where to press, how to turn a parry into a cut and leave your man thinking he still holds the fight while his sleeve soaks through. The main gauche, what they call the left-hand knife, though it's more shield than weapon in the way they use it, gets as much time as the blade itself. They train it like a limb, not a tool, to bind, to catch, to make the opening that wins the bout before a full step's taken. Manchester keeps a good school as well, though they'd not think to give it a saint's name or hang a crest from the gate. They call it Lowbridge Hall, though it's neither low nor much of a hall. Just 3 linked buildings around a stone court that floods every spring and ices over most winters. The beams are warped, the roof's been patched many times with thatch, tile and board, but it's the best place I know that teaches plain sword work. They tutor in the old tight style meant for real fields, with mud underneath and nothing clean about it. You'll spend days just learning to stand, not how to move, because they say, rightly, that a bad stance makes bad choices. They teach where the point ought to land, and how to feel it too. There's a class in binding wounds that's got me through a scrape or two. Yeah, it's my school, alright. The best school, I warrant, is St. Lo, though it takes a title to attend. Proper one, mind you, none that the folks reading the Lantern could hope to have. I've had it on good authority they use magical weapons as common steel, drawn, tested, named, and that instructions run deeper than mere handling. They teach how to recognize a blade that breathes, to master it, to speak with it if it deigns to answer, and if the forge takes to you, make one from raw ore in mithril. Hand to heart. The place is Maison d'Arc, a name every French soldier knows to their credit. It's built from pale stone, off the Paris road, atop a hill from which the sea can be seen on good days, or so I'm told. I've not stood there myself. I've served beside 2 men who trained within its walls, and if they were anything to go by, the place turns out fighters cut from cold iron. One carried a sword with no maker's mark, but a script I couldn't read, and the other wouldn't touch a blade unless it had been drawn by moonlight first. Not superstition, but something they were taught and wouldn't explain. Schools like St. Lo are scattered across the continent, though I've heard of only a few. Twice I've been in the company of Janissaries, who have both told of their school in Damascus. Beit al-Hashim they call it, though I've no way of knowing if I've remembered the name truly. Said it sat beneath the old citadel, and the training there was done blindfolded the first year, so a fighter would learn by feel, not by habit. I've never seen men move like they did, light on the feet but never dancing, and when they struck, it was always from where you weren't looking. There's talk too of the greatest school in the world, in Agra, deep in the Mughal Empire, where the blades are curved and the teaching's old as language itself. Too far a march for this old soldier, and even if I could make it, I've not the patience to learn new tongues just to be told I've held a sword wrong half my life. Still, I believe it's there. I believe it without needing to see it. Same with China and the islands they call Sipangu. I've never set foot past the Levant, but I've seen the work of men who did, and I've no doubts there are masters out east who could cut down any of ours before breakfast and still eat with the same hand. But here's the thing no school tells you, not even the good ones. There's a limit to what can be taught. A master can show you where to put your feet, when to strike, and how to read a man's shoulder before he moves, but it can't give you the moment when you stop thinking and just know. That's yours to find, or not. Some never do. No lesson prepares you for fear, not truly. You can drill it, shout it down, spar until your bruises forget to fade, but the first time your friend drops beside you and your blade sticks in bone and won't pull free, well, there's no class for that. That's the part no one says, because it can't be sold. The best you get from a school is the wisdom to try, and that's worth something, truly it is. But the rest, the grit, the silence, the way your hand keeps steady when your stomach turns, that's carved into you over time, like weather into stone.